What's going on with y'all? It says Trump signs executive order to dismantle the Department of Education. Let me fix this up for y'all real quick. So I want to see what is going on here, man. We almost done. We about to get this going.
Thank you very much, Evan. And I'd like to start by saying that our country is doing very well. Things are, as you can see, doing quite well. Please sit down. Before we begin, I just want to announce that I signed a proclamation a few moments ago honoring the 250th anniversary of Patrick Henry's famous speech to the Second Virginia Convention, in which he declared very well-known, very famous words, "Give me liberty or give me death." Has anyone heard the phrase? I think most of you have. And moments ago, I also signed an executive order to dramatically increase production of critical minerals and rare earths. It's a big thing in this country, and as you know, we're also signing agreements in various locations to unlock rare earths and minerals and lots of other things all over the world. But in particular, Ukraine, we're doing very well with regard to Ukraine and Russia. And one of the things we are doing is signing a deal very shortly with respect to rare earths with Ukraine, which they have tremendous value in rare earth, and we appreciate that. And we spoke yesterday with, as you know, President Putin and President Zelensky, and we would love to see that come to an end, and I think we're doing pretty well in that regard. So hopefully we could save thousands of people a week from dying. That's what it's all about. They're dying so unnecessarily, and I believe we'll get it done. We'll see what happens, but I believe we'll get it done. Today we take a very historic action that was 45 years in the making. In a few moments, I will sign an executive order to begin eliminating the Federal Department of Education once and for all.
What do y'all think about that? Sign an executive order. It's an executive order. I'm not sure if he can do that with an executive order to get rid of the Department of Education. What y'all think about that?
And it sounds strange, doesn't it? Department of Education, we're going to eliminate it, and everybody knows it's right. And the Democrats know it's right, and I hope they're going to be voting for it, because ultimately it may come before them, but everybody knows it's right. And we have to get our children educated. We're not doing well with the world of education in this country, and we haven't for a long time. And we're pleased to be joined today by the woman who I chose because she's an extraordinary person.
Okay, let's see what they say before we. It says, what to know about Trump's executive order on dismantling education. It says President Donald Trump signed an executive order Thursday to begin eliminating the Department of Education, one that avoids claims a dispute legal authority to dissolve the congressional established agency, but nevertheless pairs back its role and its responsibility. The order requires Education Secretary Linda to take all necessary steps to facilitate the closure of the Department of Education and return authority of education to the states and local communities, while ensuring the effective and uninterrupted delivery of services, programs, and benefits on which Americans rely. It is a culmination of a campaign promise to return education authority to the states. Trump's order follows last week's announcement of the drastic reduction of force at the department, which included nearly 2,000 employees. Unfortunately, the experiment of controlling American education through federal programs and dollars and unaccountable bureaucracy those programs and dollars support has plainly failed our children, our teachers, and our communities, according to the executive order. The president can't eliminate the agency without the approval of Congress. The White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt said earlier in the day that the order is meant to greatly reduce the scale and the size of the department. Yeah, I figured that Congress had to approve something like that. It says our children's test scores are incredibly concerning when it comes to reading rates, literacy rates, math and science test scores. The numbers prove that, Levitt said. The president is finally taking much needed action to return education to where it belongs, and that's to the educators closest to students in their classrooms in our respective states. The executive order was hardly a surprise. So I mean, I don't know. It said this restoration will profoundly impact staff, budget, and agency operations here at the department, she said. In coming months, he will partner with Congress and other federal agencies to determine the best path forward to fulfill the expectations of the president and the American people. We will eliminate unnecessary bureaucracy so that our children, K through 12 school students and teachers, can innovate and thrive. So, I mean, he can't really get rid of it, but he can order the lady that's like the head of it to try to, reduce, the size of it and stuff like that. But he can't really eliminate it without Congress's approval. So this is an executive order. What do I think about it? I mean, I see a lot of different opinions on it. I'm not really mad at it. I don't if you look at how Americans test versus other countries, I think we're on the lowest end of it. So, I mean, obviously this isn't working. There's just a lot of bureaucracy. With states and bureaucracy, what you get nothing, right? Or you get real, low results. So, I mean, I'm not really mad that he's doing it. And give it back to the states. If you want to move to a state that has great education, go ahead and do that. But, I don't think everybody should suffer because everybody wants to have a blanketed Department of Education, right? I don't feel like that should be the case. Move to the states that has the best education. That's all I can say. It'll save the federal government a lot of money, and then make the states do something, because states have been very laxed on this. So let the states take this up.
And hopefully she will be our last Secretary of Education, Linda McMahon. Linda, thank you. Thank you very much. That's another interesting statement. It's an interesting opening, right? But it's true, and people, it's been amazing how popular this has been. I tell people that this is what I'm doing today, and they say, oh, it's about time. Everybody says it. Republicans and Democrats have said it. They're all saying it. Also with us are...
I think the only thing I see, right, because you got some people that have dissenting opinions. You see it on TikTok, you see it on Twitter. Some people are upset about it. And their gripe is not necessarily with him dismantling the Department of Education because it's not working test score wise. Their gripe is that they feel like some people who may be getting food vouchers and things like that may be affected. But that's not the Department of Education. I think that's Department of Agriculture or something like that. So stuff like that's not affected. So the gripes and the problems that they have are not what he's taking away, So if you really look at it, I mean, to argue for the Department of Education, we see what's her name? Maxine Waters. She was at the building and threatening to go in and all of that and giving that security guard a hard time. When you really look at it, I mean, why would you not want him to dismantle the Department of Education? It just sounds wow, okay, we're going to shut down the whole department that's been running for this long. But if you look at the effectiveness of it, it's not really worth it. Get rid of it, save us some money. That's how I feel.
Some terrific people. Governors Greg Abbott. Greg, thank you very much. Governor Ron DeSantis, thank you very much, Ron. Mike Braun, congratulations on your victory, Mike. That was a big one. Mike DeWine, thank you very much, Mike. Jeff Landry. Jeff, thank you very much, Jeff. Bill Lee, thank you. Governors, all governors. Brad Little. Brad, thank you very much. Where are you, Brad? Hi, Brad. Jim Pilan, thank you very much, Jim. And Kim Reynolds. These are all people very interested.
But he did. I think the Department of Agriculture, they got hit a little bit, so.
In education. And I even see Dan Patrick over there, my friend Dan Patrick. We're joined also by Representatives Tim Walberg and Virginia Fox, Rick Allen, Michael Rulli, And again, Dan Patrick, thank you very much, Dan. You've been a great friend of ours. And State Attorneys General Ken Paxton. Ken, I see you there. Andrew Bailey. Andrew, what a job you've done, Andrew. You have some good cases going. You've done a great job. Thank you very much. And co-founder of Moms for Liberty, Tiffany Justice. She's been a hard worker. Thank you. Thank you, Tiffany. When President Carter created the Federal Education Department in 1979, it was opposed by members of his own cabinet, as well as the American Federation of Teachers, the New York Times editorial board, and the famed Democrat Senator Daniel Patrick Moynihan. History has proven them right, absolutely right. After 45 years, the United States spends more money on education by far than any other country, and spends likewise by far more money per pupil than any country, and it's not even close. But yet we rank near the bottom of the list in terms of success. It's an amazing stat. Those are two stats you don't want. The most money spent per pupil, and you're at the bottom of the list. And that's where we are, like it or not. And we've been there for a long time. 70% of eighth graders are not proficient in either reading or in math. 70%. 40% of fourth graders lack even basic reading skills, can't read. Students in our public elementary and middle schools score worse in reading today than when the department opened, by a lot. In Baltimore, 40% of the high schools have 0 students who can do basic mathematics. Not even the very simplest of mathematics. I said, give me your definition of basic, and they're talking about like adding a few numbers together. Despite these breathtaking failures, the department's discretionary...
Let's listen to what Democrats are saying, right? They said Trump administration and Republicans in Congress are waging a multi-front war on nutrition benefits for children, with the U.S. Department of Agriculture moving this week to end programs that provided over $1 billion in funding for schools and charity organizations to buy food from local farmers, as GOP lawmakers simultaneously take aim at school meal programs and part of an effort to fund tax breaks for the wealthy. Schools and farmers are bracing for impact, as the Washington Post put it, after the USDA access to local food purchase assistance cooperative agreement program at the local food and schools cooperative agreement program as part of the purported effort to return to long-term fiscal responsibility initiatives. The local food and schools program, according to the USDA, no longer effectuates agency priorities, and decision to kill the program could be disastrous for schools, child care facilities, and other organizations that were expected federal funding this year. Political Observer. So it's different people talking about it. Some people, they don't like this, you know, they feel like it's bad, and that's just me being fair. You know what I mean? I'm just saying what the Democratic Party is saying. They think it's, you know, he's going after everything and trying to supply tax cuts for the rich. That's just what they saying. But y'all tell me what y'all think.
Their budget has exploded by 600% in a very short period of time, and it employs bureaucrats in buildings all over Washington, D.C. And as a former real estate person, I will tell you, I ride through the streets of Washington and it says Department of Education, Department of Education. I said, how do you fill those buildings? It's crazy what's happened over the years. I'm pleased to report that after offering these federal employees 2 generous buyout options, and they were very generous, and they're good people, but they were very generous. My administration has initiated...
I mean, can I ask this question to y'all? Why are the states not responsible for any of this? Why does everything have to be on the federal government? A lot of people, like some people don't have kids. You know what I'm saying? And they don't want to be paying for like kids. I'm just saying what people think, right? Like I've got kids, you know what I'm saying? But some people don't have kids and they're like, why am I being taxed more? Because I got to pay for like all of this stuff. Like, you know, so it's just like, you know, some people are for certain things. Some people are against certain things. But why should the federal government have to foot the bill for everything? What is the state doing? You know what I mean? Let them do it.
a reduction in force, and we're already cutting numbers that were really surprising to a lot that we were able to do it so successfully. And we've cut the number of bureaucrats in half. 50% have taken office, which is great. Okay. Under the action I'm taking today, a small handful of Democrats and others that we have implemented.
Shannon says, somebody in the chat say, income tax and give it back to the states. We are independent and individuals who deserve to keep our money and invest in our future and children. I mean, like, what he wants. Another thing that he said, right? All right, so let's keep it real, all the way real. Some people are not going to like this, whatever. Trump is trying to do like the biggest tax break ever for the middle class. Everybody keeps saying he's trying to support like the billionaires and millionaires and all, right? But in all reality, I mean, he may have some things in there for them, but this is going to be one of the biggest tax breaks for the middle class. He also said, which, you know, he's saying this, I don't know, he can't really do this, right? He said, if you make less than $150,000 a year, he don't want you to pay taxes, right? So if the federal government is paying for all of these programs, how can he do something like that? You see what I'm saying? So you got to think, you either want him to try to give you a major tax break and slash some of these programs that are, you know, causing a lot of expenditure, or you don't. You know what I mean? Do you want a tax break or not? When he's talking about no taxes on tips and no taxes on overtime, he's got to figure out a way, like, to make sure that they're not spending money on a bunch of different programs. So when he goes to Congress and he presents a plan to them, he can say, well, this is what America, our government, our federal government is spending. We have a balanced budget. This is what we spending. We do not need to be taxing people on tips, and we do not need to be taxing people on overtime. It's not necessary at this point. And then he can try to get that passed. But if y'all want him to just be giving our money away to all of these different programs, things that you may not even approve of, he can't do that. You see what I'm saying? So it's like you got to figure out what you want. Do you want that or not? And then Zachary Smith in the comment section said, be realistic. Do you honestly think he's going to get rid of taxes for anyone making $150,000 or less? I'm saying he said it. I said, I don't know if he can do that. You know what I'm saying? But he said it, right? Scott said, thank you, President Trump, finally cleaning up our act. You know, and then somebody, Nikki Snyder, I'm reading everybody's comments if I can. Billionaire care a lot about, he said, billionaires care a lot about their money. They do not want to pay taxes. And I'm, for one, like, I'm not a millionaire. I'm not a billionaire. I do all right. I'm not like, shout out to 11117. King is a member on the channel. Shout out to him. I do want to say that. But I'm not like a billionaire or like a millionaire or nothing like that. Like, I'm not. Like, I'm regular, right? But I also understand, like, I'm not the person creating jobs, right? I'm not. Like, I don't own, like, a Target. You know what I'm saying? I don't own, like, a Walmart. I don't own, like, a, you know what I'm saying? Like, an Apple or these companies that employ so many people. I mean, what is the point of doing all of this if you don't get tax breaks? You see what I'm saying? They have to, like, some of these companies, and I don't know what y'all work for, right? Some companies pay a lot of money towards people, healthcare insurance. You see what I'm saying? To run the business. They got a lot of overhead. They're paying employees enough so they can pay all their bills. And, you know what I'm saying? They should be able to get something. They providing services for the country. So I feel like they should be able to get something. I don't feel like the people that are not creating jobs, like, should get everything. I think we should get something too, you know, because we're the people out here spending money, right? You buy stuff on Amazon and you go out. I was just out shopping today. We go out, we shop. We should be able to save money in different areas, right? But I also feel like people who make, like, large amounts of money should also be able to benefit, right? Anything wrong with that? I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
employed for a long time, and there's some Republicans.
And I understand some people that don't have as much as other people, they are mad that other people have stuff. That happens too. Oh, well, they're billionaires and billionaires. We're mad. And like, people get mad. But like, at the end of the day, these people are creating jobs. Like it or not. You know what I mean? Like, you able to go to work and, you know what I mean? Like, you know, so it's how you look at it.
But not too many, I have to be honest with you. But the department's useful functions and such as, and they're in charge of them. Pell Grants, Title I funding, resources for children with disabilities and special needs will be preserved, fully preserved. They're all going to be so. If you look at the Pell Grants, supposed to be a very good program, Title I funding and resources for children with special disabilities and special needs. They're going to be preserved in full and redistributed to various other agencies and departments that will take very good care of them. And it's very important to Linda, I know, and it's very important to all of us. But beyond these core necessities, my administration will take all lawful steps to shut down the department. We're going to shut it down and shut it down as quickly as possible. It's doing us no good. We want to return our students to the states where just some of the governors here are so happy about this. They want education to come back.
Now, I do want to say this, right? By dismantling the Department of Education and then going back to the states, what do you think the states are going to do? They're going to raise property taxes. You see what I'm saying? Like, they're going to figure out ways to make the money up so it doesn't affect their bottom line or budget with taking on the education of their citizens in their state. So this could, like, to be real, you know, thinking about it, like, this could have different types of impacts. You know what I mean? Like, I don't feel like the Department of Education has been doing good. I don't think so. You know, but at the same time, like, states can, like, try to raise, like, their taxes. You know what I mean? Or try to offset things. So I don't know. It depends on how you look at it.
Back to them to come back to the states, and they're going to do a phenomenal job. You know, if you look, Denmark, Norway, Sweden, I have to tell you, I give them a lot of credit. China's top 10. And so we can't now say that big.
Yeah, I could see if y'all hitting the likes and stuff like that. Hit the like button and all them hundreds and all of that. You know what I'm saying? Because they're trying to slow the video down.
This is making it impossible to educate because China is very big. But you have countries that do a very good job in education. And I really believe, like some of the governors here today, from states that run very, very well, including a big state like Texas, but states that run very well are going to have education that will be as good as Norway, Denmark, Sweden, and those top, Finland, those top countries that do so well with education. I think they'll do every bit as well. And what do you think about that, Governor? Do you agree? Huh? I think so. Ron, do you agree? I think so. Florida? Iowa? That's right. I really believe that. They'll be as good as any of them. And then you'll have some laggards, and we'll work with them. And we can all tell you who the laggards will be right now, probably, but let's not get into that. But we'll work with them, and we're going to make them, they'll do a job. I think they'll do a job, and they'll go to sections of the state. For instance, New York, you'll have a Manhattan, and you'll have a Suffolk County, and you'll have Nassau County, and you'll have Westchester County. You'll do 4 or 5 or 6 of them. You have upstate New York, and those counties I think are going to do very well. And I think ultimately Manhattan should do very well. But we'll break it down into sections, and I think it'll be really, really good. And they're going to be probably the tougher ones, but I think they have a chance to do really well. But we're going to be returning education very simply back to the states where it belongs, and this is a very popular thing to do, but much more importantly, it's a common sense thing to do, and it's going to work. Absolutely, it's going to work. And I can tell you from dealing with the governors and others in the state, they want it so badly. They want to take their children back and really teach their children individually. Probably the cost will be half, and the education will be maybe many, many times better. So we look forward to this. I want to just make one little personal statement. Teachers to me.
I'm not against him, like, doing this. So I know people don't like him. I'm not against them doing that. I think they need to dismantle the Department of Education. It's about time.
We are among the most important people in this country, and we're going to take care of our teachers. And I don't care if they're in the union or not in the union, that doesn't matter. But we're going to take care of our teachers, and I believe the states will take actually better care of them than they are taken care of right now. They'll work all sorts of systems and even merit systems. Those great teachers are going to
Nicholas said, "Me too."
be maybe a little bit better rewarded, or maybe that's the way it should be, but the states are going to make that decision. But we're going to love and cherish our teachers along with our children, and they're going to work with the parents, and they're going to work with everybody else, and it's going to be an amazing thing to watch, and it's really going to be something special. And Linda, you're presiding over something that's so important, and you're going to do a fantastic job, just like you have your whole life. I know your whole life I've been watching you for a long time. She's had nothing but success. So it's tremendous to have you, and hopefully you won't be there too long, but we're going to find something else for you, Linda, okay? So this will conclude what we are talking about with respect to our most cherished group of people, and that's our children. We want to have our children well educated, and we want them to love going to school. We have examples of it. Look at those beautiful, bright-eyed faces. They are so smart. They're so smart. And with that, I'm going to come down and we're going to sign a very important document, and we're going to be on our way. People have wanted to do this for many, many years, for many, many decades. And I don't know, no president ever got around to doing it, but I'm getting around to doing it. So thank you very much. So thank you very much. We're here to have our first board meeting, Kennedy Center, and it's in tremendous disrepair, as is.
Hold on. Let me see.
The head of China coming in, the top people right underneath President Xi, and he'll be coming in the not too distant future. When we had India last week, we had France last week, we had a lot of people. We had Ireland, we had UK, and they come in and I say, "How's it looking?" They say, "Oh, it looks much better. You know, that's great." But it looked very good when we.
That's the Kennedy board meeting. That's not.
Okay, thank you very much. Great honor to be with you. I just want to start by saying we had a meeting yesterday on the Department of Education, which is being moved. We're going to educate the children in their states where they can get a proper education. The numbers are horrible the way it is, and we're going to make a move that's very big. I don't think it's even risky a little bit. I think it's going to be amazing. It should have been done years ago. They've been talking about doing it for many years, but nobody ever got it off. But we did, and there was great excitement and great acceptance of it by almost everybody, including a lot of Democrats, actually. I do want to say that I've decided that the SBA...
Let me show y'all this. It says U.S. education ranking compared to other countries. It says, all right. Yeah, here we go. It says the United States isn't investing as much in human capital as other developing countries, and its comparative advantage is falling behind as a result, particularly with respects to education ranking. U.S. students' math skills have remained fairly stagnant for decades, and the country is falling behind many others that have greatly improved, such as Japan, Poland, and Ireland. Additionally, U.S. test scores are below the global average. Here's how they break it down. It says a program for the International Student Assessment and Administration by the Organization of Economics, Cooperation, and Development, and it tests 15-year-old students around the world. The U.S. placed 16th out of 81 countries in science when the test was last administered in 2022. It did much worse in math, ranking 34th. The U.S. scored 465 in math, below the OECD average of 472, and well below the scores of the top 5, all of which were in Asia. So, I mean, what do y'all want him to do, bro? Like, the Department of Education is not working. You know what I mean? Like, what y'all want us to keep scoring low? Said China was not included in this ranking because only 4 provinces participated. The United States scored 499 in science, above the OECD average of 485, but still well below the top 5 highest scores in science, which were Singapore, Japan, Macau, Chinese, Taipei, and Korea. It's clear when analyzing the U.S. results that the scores have been stable over time. They're not declining, but there aren't any signs of improvement either. There's been no debatable change in U.S. students' math scores since 2003 or in science scores since 2006. Economic impact of education. These relatively low scores mean the U.S. students may not be as prepared to take high-paying computer and engineering jobs, which often go to foreign workers. Silicon Valley is America's high-tech innovation center, but one reason for its success is the cultural diversity of its foreign-born software engineers. Eric A., an economist from the Hoover Institution of Stanford University, estimated that the U.S. economy would grow 4.5% in 20 years if our students' math and science skills were as strong as those in the rest of the world. But this statement would likely come as a shock to many Americans who believe that our student skills are already among the best in the world. Impact on U.S. competitiveness. The International Institute of Management Development World Competitiveness Center reports that the U.S. ranked 12th in the 2024 competitiveness report, continuing a downward trend after the U.S. fell to the 3rd spot in 2019, despite ranking 1st in 2018. The tumble to 12th place represented the lowest the U.S. has ever been in the annual ranking system. So, I mean, we kind of got to get rid of it, bro.
The Small Business Administration, headed by Kelly Loeffler, is a terrific person, will handle all of the student loan portfolio. We have a portfolio that's very large, lots of loans, tens of thousands of loans. Pretty complicated deal. And that's coming out of the Department of Education immediately, and it's going to be headed up by Kelly Loeffler at SBA, and they're all set for it. They're waiting for it, and it'll be serviced much better than it has in the past. It's been a mess. And also, Bobby Kennedy, the Health and Human Services, will be handling special needs and all of the nutrition programs and everything else. Rather complex, but that's going to be headed by and handled by Health and Human Services. So I think that'll work out very well. Those two elements will be taken out of the Department of Education, and then all we have to do is get the students to get guidance from the people that love them and cherish them.
Johnny Harris is a member on the channel. Shout out to Froggy Meggsy. I see you in here. He said, if you have children in school, then you know the standard is not the same. Students do not know how to write in cursive anymore. I mean, he's not lying. He's not lying.
Including their parents, by the way, who will be totally involved in their education, along with the boards and the governors and the states. And it's going to be a great situation. I guarantee that in a few years from now, I hope I'm going to be around to see it, but I think we're going to see a lot of it. I think that you're going to have tremendous results. You're going to have results like Norway, Sweden, Denmark, a lot of the countries that do so well. I think you're going to have a lot of those results. If you look at Iowa and Indiana and Idaho, so many places that run so well, Florida, Texas, big ones, you're going to have great education, much better than it is now at half the cost. And we're not even doing it as a cost item, although you will save probably half, maybe more than that. And you're not going to be at the bottom of the list. You're going to be much higher, and maybe you'll be I will guarantee some of the states will be at the top of the list. They'll be comparable or better than these number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 the countries that are in the top 5 positions. So that's to me, it's very exciting, and it's been received very well. So I just wanted to tell you about the student loans and special needs. But we're here for a reason today that is very exciting, and I'm thrilled to announce that
Yo, Christian Betway said, "Our kids be learning when they be practicing shooting drills every day." Yo, he crazy. He's a Democrat in here.
At my direction, the United States Air Force is moving forward with the world's first sixth-generation fighter jet. Number six, sixth generation. Nothing in the world comes even close to it, and it'll be...
Yo, the fifth generation fighter jets are crazy. Like, I highly suggest, like, anybody that's in the military stuff, watch Top Gun Maverick. They talk about the difference between like the F-18s and the Generation 5 fighters and how crazy, and you get to see a Generation 5 fighter like in action versus like an older jet. But then now we got sixth generation jets. So it's interesting.
Be known as the F-47. The generals picked a title, and it's a beautiful number, F-47. It's something the likes of which nobody has seen before in terms of all of the attributes of a fighter jet. There's never been anything even close to it, from speed to maneuverability.
And we're doing this because there's like a threat they feel like from China, right? And I'll even go to the AP News about this. Like, you know, they kind of liberal. Let's see what the AP News is saying. It says, eyeing China threat, Trump announces Boeing wins contract for secretive future fighter jet. And it said, Washington, President Donald Trump announces Friday that Boeing will build the Air Force's future fighter jet, which the Pentagon says will have stealth and penetration capabilities that far exceed those of its current fleet and is essential in a potential conflict with China. You know, so that's interesting.
To what it can have to payload, and this has been in the works for a long period of time. After a rigorous and thorough competition between some of America's top aerospace companies, the Air Force is going to be awarding.
So Kim in the comment section said, yes, education of our children is the most important thing for our future of Americans. So Kim, I want to ask you, like, what do you think about the Department of Education being cut? Or him moving towards that? Like I said, I don't have a problem with it. I think after reading like what our test scores are, and we all just read that, right? I don't think Department of Education is necessary. I think we need to give that back to the states. And just like Silicon Valley is saying, the issue that, you know, we've been having in America is why we're not on the cutting edge of things, right? Is because of the lack of, you know, our test scores in math and science and stuff like that. So the engineering jobs that you would need, you know, a lot of those type of people, you know, end up coming to America and being foreigners. You know what I mean? So if we could do something to raise like our test scores and get more engineers and computer science and stuff like that, maybe we can have a competitive advantage in 5 years from now. But for right now, with our test scores being the way that they are, I don't know.
The contract for the next generation air dominance platform to Boeing.
Yeah, exactly. And people don't realize, this is why Trump is talking about the F-47, the sixth generation fighter, is because China is a threat. You know what I'm saying? Like he want to let them know, like, yo, we got better jets than y'all. You know, and our jets are going to be way more capable. We got the contract with Boeing, like we good. Boeing, this shows you the power of Boeing. Like people think like Boeing, oh, they just build like the 747 or whatever, like commercial flying. Like, bro, Boeing is important because they can make these jets. You know what I'm saying? This is why Boeing, like, they kind of skate through a lot of like things that go on like in the media, like negative controversies and stuff like that, and they still survive. Is because they can always get a military contract. You see what I'm saying? So like that's very interesting. Like when you really look at it and you pay attention to what Boeing can do, like they could be like, all right, we ain't building no jet. You know what I mean? The new generation jets in America, we're going to build them out in China and give them Chinese a discount. They can do anything they want, you know, and they kind of keep these countries, you know, right in the middle, you know, to where they don't go too far with them. So that's interesting to think about that.
As you know, was highly competed for. There was a lot of competition, generals, and it's been going on for a long time. Very, very tough competition.
Darren H. did make a good point. He's in the comment section, right? He says, so then you want the states to magically decide to tax more for schools. I said early on, I'm like, yo, that could be an issue. You know what I mean? If a state decides to do something like that, that can be an issue.
But this plane has produced numbers that
Hold on, Froggy Megzy, are you in here?
nobody's ever seen before. The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. There's no other nation. We know every other plane. I've seen every one of them, and it's not even close. This is a next level. You know, level 5 is good. This is level 6, they say. The F-47 is equipped with state-of-the-art stealth technology. It's virtually unseeable and any unprecedented power. It's got the most power of any jet of its kind ever made. Maneuverability, likewise, is there's never been anything like it, despite the power and speed. Its speed is top. So over 2, which is something that you don't hear very often. America's enemies will never see it coming. Hopefully we won't have to use it for that purpose, but you have to have it. And if it ever happens, they won't know what the hell hit them. A new fleet of these magnificent planes will be built in the air during my administration over the next couple of years. It's ready to go. They've already built much of what has.
Y'all do know how much some jets cost, right? Somebody in the comment section, tell me how much you think them F-47 jets cost. Y'all gonna be shocked. The F-47 6th generation fighter. How much y'all think that costs? In the chat.
To be built in terms of production, including the sheds, will ensure that the USA continues to dominate the skies. We're given an order for a lot. We can't tell you the price because it would give way to some of the technology and some of the size of the plane, good sized plane. This contract also represents a historic.
Nah. So the new F-47 jet, somebody said $2 billion. Vinny said 500 million. Trey said 101 million. Darren said 75 million. No, it's over $20 billion. That's how much it costs. More than $20 billion. Let me show y'all. That's how much that jet is. That's how, you know, if they end up crashing one of these jets, bro, $20 billion. It said Trump announces $20 billion. Well, I mean, I guess it's a contract, right? But it says Trump decision to give Boeing $20 billion for the new fighter jet. That's crazy, bro. That's a lot of money. $20 billion. And Friday's press briefing inside the Oval Office, Trump announces that the Air Force was awarding a $20 billion contract to Boeing to develop the new fighter jet. That's just for development. After a rigorous and thorough competition between some of America's top aerospace companies, the F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built, Trump told reporters in the Oval Office. Nothing in the world comes even close to it. Air Force General David said in a news release that the new jet will be a cheaper and more advanced alternative than current fighter jets. Yo, compared to the F-22, the F-47 will cost less and be more adaptable to future threats. And we will have more of the F-47s in our inventory. Yo, bruh.
Investment in our defense industrial base, helping to keep America at the cutting edge of aerospace and technology. Our allies are calling constantly. They want to buy them also, and certain allies will be selling them, perhaps toned down versions. We like to tone them down about 10%, which
I'm gonna say this though. I mean, we can't really get mad at defense spending, you know, if we want to still stay up there, you know.
Probably makes sense because someday maybe they're not our allies, right? But I would like to ask Secretary Hegseth, who's doing a fantastic job. He's really been very inspiring in so many ways, and I must say that.
And let's be real, no matter what kind of jet you got, you know what I'm saying? This is like if aircraft carriers are going out and then they about to have a battle of Midway or something. You know what I'm saying? This is where these jets come into play. right? Let's be real. Like, there's nukes. You see what I'm saying? Like, long range like, so yeah, it's cool to have these jets. It's like a scare tactic. But if a country wanted to get crazy, you know, they just shoot one of them things over and that's it. You know what I mean? So it's how you look at it. Noah is a member on the channel. He said it may be cheaper because they can build it without having to worry about the human needs.
That before he speaks, we have had record people wanting to join our military in the last 2.5 months. Literally,
there has been a surge of people wanting to join the military.
Since this, I think probably since the election, November 5th, but especially since we came to office and since I announced Pete, he's young, he's smart, he's strong, he loves it, and they love him. But we've had record numbers of people wanting to join our military. Now, if you go back,
it says in 2022, the Army missed its target of 60,000 recruits by 15,000. Similarly, in 2023, so in 2022 and 2023, they missed their target. The Army fell short of a 65,000 enlistment target by 15,000. However, in 2024, the Army successfully met its revised goal of 55,000 recruits. So the goal was reduced for 5,000 and they ended up meeting the goal. So if he's saying things like, you know, like we meeting our goal or whatever, that's why. It says the Army is optimistic about surpassing its recruitment goals in 2025. So it's interesting. People are like trusting America more to the point to where they feel like enlisting.
Back 6 months, it was the exact opposite. You had record numbers of people not wanting to join the military. Now you have record numbers of people wanting to be in our military. And that's a great honor. That shows you we're really on the right track. So
Christian Medwig in the comment section said eggs are going to be imported from Turkey and South Korea. Tariffs not paid. You know, the cost of eggs have been going down. They've been going down. So, I know y'all been trying to get on him about that, but the cost of eggs has been going down.
Pete, maybe say a few words.
Sure. Well, Mr. President, this is a big day. This is a big day for our warfighters. This is a big day for our country, a big day in the world. The name of this program is the Next Generation of Air Dominance. And Mr. President, because of your leadership, your clarity, America is going to have generations in the future of air dominance because of this sixth generation fighter. We've had the F-15, we had the F-16, the F-18, the F-22, the F-35. Now we have the F-47, which sends a very direct, clear message.
So, but another thing that he's not telling you, right? And this is just me being 100% real. It ain't always about the car, it's the driver, right? Like, you can have a car that might be faster than one car, but if you're going, on a racetrack, somebody that's got a slightly slower car might beat you in the race. I've seen people, when we used to street race back in the day, people didn't have as fast of cars, but if you got 2 manual transmissions, somebody can shift faster, and win the race. So same thing applies with jets, right? Like the Top Gun Maverick. You seen, Tom Cruise take out a 5th generation fighter with an F-18. So it could happen. It just depends. So the jet doesn't necessarily mean you're going to have air dominance. It's more capable of a plane, of a fighter jet, but it doesn't mean you're going to technically have air dominance. You see what I'm saying?
Message to our allies that we're not going anywhere, and to our enemies that we will be able to project power around the globe unimpeded for generations to come. Mr. President, this is a gift. To my kids and your kids, to my grandkids and your grandkids. This is a historic investment in the American military, in the American industrial base, in American industry that will help revive the warrior ethos inside our military, which we're doing, rebuild our military, which the previous administration did not do, by the way, Mr. President. They paused this program.
Hold on, this dude right here, his name is Hagseth. I think that's his name. So there's been like some leaked war plans, and he ends up responding to all of that. So let's hear what he's saying about the leaked war plans. You know what I mean? Let's see this.
And that is the plane of Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth, who, from what we understand, just landed there. He will comment on the story.
Look at that plane, bro. That plane is huge.
Story in the Atlantic. Remember, he was leading the group message there in that signal thread. Let's listen here.
I'll tell you something. This is a trip that we had. I tell you something. This is a trip we've had circled on the calendar from the beginning. The Indo-Pacific, shifting priorities to make sure we're deterring threats to the future. President Trump's been focused on that. Reestablishing the warrior ethos, rebuilding our military, and ultimately reestablishing deterrence is critically important. And so we're out here to talk to our commanders and, more importantly, meet with the troops all across the Indo-Pacific, and then our allies and partners too are going to be a critical part of ensuring the future in this region is free. And so we're glad to be here. It's a beautiful day. Had a full work day.
But look at this. When the defense secretary gets off the plane, look at all of this, bro. She's standing there. She got like an M16. Like, yo.
The plane. Now we got a full work day here as well. And looking forward to
Other military personnel over here.
one question.
Can you share how your information about war plans against the Houthis in Yemen was shared with a journalist in the Atlantic? And were those details classified?
You're talking about a deceitful and highly discredited so-called journalist who's made a profession of peddling hoaxes time and time again, to include the hoaxes of Russia, or the fine people on both sides hoax, or suckers and losers hoax. So this is the guy that peddles in garbage. This is what he does. I would love to comment on the Houthi campaign because of the skill and courage of our troops. I've monitored it very closely from the beginning. And you see, we've been managing 4 years of deferred maintenance under the Trump administration. Our troops, our sailors were getting shot at as targets. Our ships couldn't sail through. And when they did shoot back, it was purely defensively or at shacks in Yemen. President Trump said, no more. We will reestablish deterrence. We will open freedom of navigation, and we will ultimately decimate the Houthis, which is exactly what we're doing as we speak from the beginning, overwhelmingly.
Why were those details shared on Signal, and how did you learn that a journalist was privy to the targets, the types of weapons used?
I've heard I was characterized. Nobody was texting war plans, and that's all I have to say about that. Thank you.
That's it. The NSC said it was authentic.
And there you have it. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth just landed there at Joint Base Pearl Harbor, Hickam in Hawaii, saying this.
Okay, thank you very much. It's great. Who have worked tirelessly on this program to bring it where we are right now today. This shows that American talent, American skill, and American determination are second to none, because this platform is second to none. So we believe that this provides more lethality, it provides more capability, more modernized capability in a way that is built to adapt. This, along with our collaborative combat aircraft the President talked about with...
Y'all crazy. Somebody said, Pete, did you add anyone else to the text chain? Maybe you can sell some of it to our enemies. You crazy, bro.
Drones. This is allowing us to look into the future and unlock the magic that is human-machine teaming. And as we do that, we're going to write the next generation of modern aerial warfare with this. This enables us to do this. The manner in which we put this program together puts more control in the hands of the government, so we can update and adapt at the speed of relevance, at the speed of technology, not at the speed of bureaucracy. This is more Air Force. This is more options for the President. We say as our mission in the United States Air Force is to fly, fight, and win air power anytime, anywhere. If you want to go anywhere, you have to have a platform that gets you anywhere. This provides the President options from the very one end, which is a quick response, and then we can get right back into fighting stance without having to deploy troops that are going to take maybe months and cost more lives. We can be back in fighting stance, and maybe we restore that deterrence. all the way to decisive victory as part of a joint force that is the most lethal and capable military ever known in history. That's what we provide now, and this allows us to provide it into the future. It's more deterrence, more capability. It's what peace through strength looks like into the future, Mr. President. And so we're very proud to do that. And all we can say is, on behalf of the United States Air Force, let's deliver.
Thank you very much. Thank you, General. Would you like to say something?
No, sir, I'll just double check what the chief said.
He knows what to do.
Generational
He knows
lead.
who the boss is.
That's exactly right. Air superiority is what it's all about, and this is what we'll deliver.
That's great. Thank you very much. Great job. We've worked together long and hard on this, and this was a big secret. In fact, we don't show too much of the plane for that reason. You see what we show? You see how beautiful that is, but that's just a very small part of it.
Sure.
I wasn't surprised. I was wondering how much are you going to show if they came in with that. You see a wheel in the front? That's about it. Any questions?
Mr. President,
Trump.
is
80,000 pages of documents is a lot to sit through.
Yeah.
Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy?
Well, I was given the task of releasing.
I like that. 80,000 pages to sift through. Can you just tell us who killed Kennedy? I like that.
That because many presidents have gone through it and they haven't released. And I said, release. We even released Social Security numbers. I didn't want anything deleted. They said, sir, what about Social Security? People long gone, but they're long gone, so I can't imagine. But I said, if you don't delete it, if you do delete it, we have people are going to say, why did you delete it? There's something in there. So we gave Social Security, we gave everything. And the rest is for you to look at, Peter. You're going to see whether or not you see anything. But we've given it. We're doing it with Dr. Martin Luther King, too. They're preparing all of that. They're going to release everything. And whoever else they want. I mean, we have nothing. We really have nothing to hide. We shouldn't have. When a lot of time goes by. But with the Kennedy files in particular, they were going crazy on them. I don't think there's anything that's earth-shattering, but you'll have to make that determination. In those, it's 80,000, it's actually 88,000, and we have some additional things, as you know, come out today. And for that, you can go to the offices and you can see whatever you want to see. Everything is out there, totally open. The additional stuff is available later on today. You go over to the offices and you can have it immediately. And you'll make a determination.
And on something else, these Tren Aragua guys, because of your executive order, they are designated as foreign terrorists. If ISIS or Al-Qaeda foreign terrorists were operating here in the United States, cops would probably be shooting first and asking questions later. And so what is the difference between terrorists, between somebody like an ISIS or an Al-Qaeda operative versus a MS-13 or Tren de Aragua?
Well, these are people that focus on destroying people in their homes. They're not as international in that sense. They're a group of thugs. They come from Venezuela. They come from the prisons of Venezuela. They're very, very dangerous people, but they didn't look so dangerous when the guards took care of the situation from El Salvador. And I want to thank the president. He's a friend of mine. He's done a great job. But I just can't imagine that the Democrats are taking this issue where they want to have them back. So now they have men playing in women's sports. They have transgender for everyone. They have open borders. They have all of their crazy policies that are, I think, 95-5, not 90-10, okay? And their new policy is, let's bring Tren de Aragua back into our country. Let's bring the worst. These are the worst gang members there are. They looked amazingly frail, though, by the way they were handled. It's very amazing. They weren't, when they were in Colorado cutting the fingers off a man because he made a phone call to the police, they seemed a lot tougher then than they did when they were having their head shaved and they were in shackles. They're tough people. They're bad people. We don't want them in our country. We can't let a judge say that he wants him. He didn't run for president. He didn't get much more than 80 million votes. And we just can't let that happen. It'd be so bad for our country. I won on the basis of getting criminals out of our country that were let in. It was called unforced error. They were let in by Biden, incompetently let in, and let in by the millions, actually. 21 million people, I believe it's 21 million, And that's not even including the gotaways, but these are rough people. We want them out of our country. And I won the election based at least partly on that. And that's a big part, yeah?
Mr. President, there's some several
I don't know if you saw this. Tim Walz is now saying about Trump supporters, and forgive me, I'm just reading a quote from Tim Walz. I think I could kick most of their ass.
Oh boy, he'd be in trouble.
Is there any way to know?
You said, oh boy, he'd be in trouble. Tim Walz, like, oh, this dude's.
Oh, he's a loser. You know, I mean, the guy's a loser. He lost an election. He played a part. You know, usually a vice president doesn't play a part, they say. I think Tim played a part. I think he was so bad that he hurt her. But she hurt herself, and Joe hurt them both. They didn't have a great group, but I would probably put him at the bottom of the group.
Have you heard that Biden wants to get back involved for Democratic politicians, fundraising and campaigning against your policies?
I hope so. I hope so.
Mr. President, there are several families. Mr. President, there are families from some of the people.
Who are you with?
I'm with La Nación newspaper from Argentina. There are families from some of the people that were on those flights to El Salvador that claim that they're not criminals, they're not members of Agua, of MS-13. What can you tell them, and what guarantees can you give them that everyone in those planes were actual criminals, terrorists, as you said?
Well, I was told that they went through a very strong vetting process, and that that will also be continuing in El Salvador. And if there's anything like that, we would certainly want to find out. But these were a bad group. This was a bad group, and they were in bad areas, and they were with a lot of other people that were absolutely killers and murderers. And people that were really bad with the worst records you've ever seen. And but we will continue that process, absolutely. We don't want to make that kind of a mistake.
Is the U.S. planning to give up the position of NATO's Supreme Allied Commander? And if so, why?
NATO is something that I saved. NATO was gone until I came along. In fact, the previous Secretary General, very good man, both of them are good. The current man is fantastic. But both of them have said, if it wasn't for Trump, you wouldn't even have a NATO, because we were paying the cost of almost all of the countries, and now they're paying. I said, we're not going to do this. We're not going to continue. You hurt us on trade, you do bad things on trade, and then on top of it, we're supposed to pay for your military. And because of what I did, hundreds of billions of dollars flowed into NATO by countries that just weren't paying. They were delinquent. They weren't paying their bills.
Bro, look how much people are in tune with her. I didn't see nothing like this with Biden. 3.5 million people will just watch this. It's crazy.
So NATO is solid, they're strong, but they have to treat us fairly.
Are we going to give up the...
Because look, without us...
Appreciate you hitting the hearts. Y'all hit the hearts and the like button, or I might have to stop it. They're trying to slow the video down.
NATO is not the same thing. And I can tell you, I've been having very good discussions, as you know, with President Zelensky and with President Putin. And President Putin will tell you that without the United States, he wouldn't be worried. But he is worried when the United States is involved. And I have to tell you, I've dealt very well with both gentlemen, and we have, I think we have the confines of a deal. I hope we have the confines of a deal. I'm doing it for two reasons. Number one, and by far most importantly, thousands of young people, and they're not American people, they're Russian and they're Ukrainian, are being killed every week, thousands a week. And also the United States has paid, because of Biden, $350 billion on a war that should have never happened. If we had a competent president in this, sitting right here, that war would have never happened. It would have absolutely never happened with me. And it didn't happen. For 4 years, it didn't happen.
Mr. President, do you think you have the authority, the power to round up people, deport them, and then you're under no obligation to a court to show the evidence against them?
Well, that's what the law says, and that's what our country needs, because we were, unfortunately, they allowed millions of people to come into our country, totally unvetted, totally unchecked. So you ought to ask, did he have the authority to allow millions of people? Did Biden have the authority to do something that's unthinkable?
Another thing that's very impressive about Donald Trump, he takes on like the subversive people, right? That lady, she didn't want to say anything nice to him. Look at the way she phrased her. This is a fake news lady. The way she like phrased her question. Do you think you can like not to do whatever you want and not be like liable to law and all? Like, bro, Like, I would have been like, next question. Like, I would have did that. He's willing to take on people who even criticize him. That's strong character right there.
Have open borders where millions of people poured into our country, totally unvetted and totally unchecked, just as you would say. And many of those people were criminals. Many of them were from jails and prisons and mental institutions and gang members and drug dealers and very dangerous people. Many were murderers. We have 11,088 that we know of murderers they murdered. Of that number, at least half killed more than one person. They're in our country. They're in a location near you. Biden allowed that to happen to our country, and his people that really ran the country. And the person that operated the auto pen, I think we ought to find out who that was, because I guess that was the real president. So when you ask me if we have the authority, did Biden have the authority to allow millions of people to come into our country?
He had an auto pen. That's another thing that people are just ignoring. Like, how many times has he got to say, and other people, like, bro, they were just signing things with an auto pen. That's crazy. Did Biden even know half of these things are going on?
Many of these people, hardened criminals at the top of the line who have caused tremendous damage in our country. You see them in New York City fighting with our police. I mean, literally having fist fights in the street with our police. These are tough, hard criminals. Many of them came out of jails, and not just South America, from all over the world. They came out from Africa, from the Congo. They came out from Asia, not just South America, but many from South America. These are hard, tough criminals, and we have to get them out. And a judge sitting behind a bench someplace got a nice appointment. You can't take that away from the people that are responsible. Now, in this case, Marco Rubio has a lot of big decisions to make, and he's a fantastic person, a great man. I think he'll be our best. I think he has a chance to be our best Secretary of State. He's been doing incredibly. He works so hard. He's gone to so many different countries already, and he's got the authority to get bad people out of our country. And you can't stop that with a judge sitting behind a bench that has no idea what goes on, who happens to be a radical left lunatic.
Do you think the judiciary?
You guys today are denying this New York Times report that Elon Musk was going to be shown a 20 to 30 page presentation about a theoretical war plan against China. Why not just show it to Elon?
Because I don't want to show it to anybody. You know, you're talking about a potential war with China.
Exactly. You don't want to show that to nobody, bro. Like, this ain't like, you see what he tried to do? Why aren't you going to show these war plans with Elon? And like, Elon is Department of Government Efficiency. Don't try to like intermix the two and try to figure out little clever ways to get them against each other. Certain things Trump can't tell Elon. Like, what is you doing? Like, if we may have a potential conflict with China in the future, we can't tell nobody. I love that, bro. I love how he just answered that.
Page presentation about a theoretical war plan against China. Why not just show it to Elon?
Because I don't want to show it to anybody. You know, you're talking about a potential war with China. Now, I deal with these people all the time, and I'm dealing with Pete. I'm dealing with these gentlemen on numerous different airplane purchases, and I think they're all going to be.
Bro, what's up with this potential war with China thing? You know what I'm saying? I might have to stop spending money and start preparing. Like, what is this?
Great, but I don't want other people seeing potential war with China. We don't want to have a potential war with China, but I can tell you if we did, we're very well equipped to handle it. But I don't want to show that to anybody. But certainly you wouldn't show it to a businessman who is helping us so much. He's a great patriot. He's paying a big price for helping us cut costs, and he's doing a great job. He's finding tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. But I certainly wouldn't want, Elon has businesses in China, and he would be susceptible perhaps to that. But it was
that's a good way of answering.
such a fake story. The New York Times is just as fake as CNN and MSDNC. And anybody read that story, people laughed at that story. Who would do such a thing? And the first thing I did is I called Susie and I called Pete. I said, is there any truth to that? And they said, it's ridiculous. No, he's over there to talk about costs. You might want to address that, Pete. But Elon was over there today to address costs. Doge, thing called Doge, which you've heard about.
That's exactly right, Mr. President. You pointed out it was a fake story. We pointed out it was meant to sort of undermine whatever relationship the Pentagon has with Elon Musk. Elon Musk is a patriot. Elon Musk is an innovator. Elon Musk provides a lot of capabilities our government and our military rely on, and I'm grateful for that. We welcomed him today to the
He literally just got the astronauts back. So it's like, why are y'all so mad at him?
Pentagon to talk about Doge, to talk about efficiencies, to talk about innovations. It was a great informal conversation. The rest of that reporting was fake. There was no war plans. There was no Chinese war plans. There was no secret plans. That's not what we were doing at the Pentagon.
I might add that I think Elon, if they ever wanted to do that, I think Elon wouldn't do it. I think he wouldn't do it. He wouldn't want to put himself in that position. But if you read what's out of the New York Times, it's such a
MSNBC caught a stray.
dishonest newspaper. It's such garbage. It's, it used to be called all the news that's fit to print. Well, it's all the news that's not fit to print. They have fake sources, or they don't have sources. I think they make most of it up. But this was a made-up story by the New York Times. I call it the failing. It's a failing newspaper. It's failing. And they shouldn't do that. They really are the enemy of the people. We do need...
He called the New York Times the enemy of the people. Like, yo, he wildin'. Yo. Noah, he said, he is a member on the channel. He said, I can't believe he would ask that question. Why won't you show the enemy our plan? Yeah, exactly. Like, bro, dude is crazy, bro. Like, what?
Honest journalism in this. We've made such big strides over the last 2 months, but we just need honest journalism, and we don't have it. When you have a CNN, you have to watch these people every once in a while.
He going in on CNN too, bro. Like,
just to see where they're coming from, and it's so dishonest. MSNBC is, I think, probably worse, and they're both doing horribly in the ratings. I think they're going to be turned off. I don't think they're not doing any ratings.
Yo.
You're doing well in the ratings.
Thank you.
I understand that your trade rep is meeting their Chinese counterpart next week.
Yes.
Is there anything that they can do to stop April 2nd or to roll back the tariff?
We got 60,000 views on here. Shout out to everybody. Keep it up. Try to hit the like button if y'all can, so they don't start slowing the video down. They be playing.
Well, we can talk, but basically, I call April 2nd. I would have made it April 1st, but I didn't want to be April Fool's Day because then nobody would believe what I said, and they do believe me. April 2nd is going to be Liberation Day for America. We've been ripped off by every country in the world, friend and foe. We've been ripped off on trade. We've been ripped off on military. We protect people, and they don't do anything for us. It's just so unfair for years and years. And
didn't he win? He just won a lawsuit against like CBS, I think. It was like some crazy amount of money. Like they have to give the money to one of the charities of his choosing.
Now some of that money is going to be coming back to us in the form of tariffs. Tens of billions. It's going to be numbers like nobody's ever seen. So NVIDIA announced today, you saw that? Hundreds of billions of dollars of investment. The biggest chip maker in the world announced hundreds.
And then CNN lost. So hold on. So CNN, like they got to pay money, right? It says, and then I think it was CBS or something like that he sued. But it says CNN settled with U.S. Navy veteran after defamation verdict. Bro, CNN, y'all don't care. Y'all would just defame anybody. And just, like, CNN settled a lawsuit brought by a U.S. Navy veteran over 2021 segment of evacuations in Afghanistan on Friday, hours after a jury found the network liable for defaming him. The 2-week trial was held in Bay County, Florida. A jury awarded the veteran Zachary Young $5 million in compensatory damages. That's crazy. So that happened fairly recently. That's crazy, bro. This was written January 17, 2025.
Hundreds of billions of dollars of investment, hundreds of billions, not millions, but billions. They're all coming here. Apple just announced $500 billion worth. They're going to build plants here. They built their plants in China. They're going to build them here. And they're starting immediately. We have investment, the likes of which is...
Yo, it's at ABC News settled defamation suit with Trump for $15 million. Yo, bruh. Hey, news, defame me all y'all want. I'll get y'all. Like, this is crazy. 15 million. Wow, that's crazy. Well, isn't that when Stephanopoulos was like running his mouth like lying? He cost him. That's why I ain't see like Stephanopoulos in a while. He cost him 15 million.
Country has never seen, already announced, and they all want to have news conferences. I don't have enough time to have that many news conferences, but I would say so far at least 4.
Just so y'all can see, I'm not lying, bro. It says Trump announced. Hold on, let me see. Hold on. Let me do this. Let me show y'all this before we go back to that. That's crazy. ABC News settled defamation suit with Trump for 15 million. ABC News will pay 15 million to the Presidential Foundation and Museum in a settlement reached with President-elect Donald Trump in the defamation suit against the network and anchor George Stephanopoulos. The settlement, which was filed publicly Saturday, reveals the network will also pay $1 million in Trump's attorney fees and will issue an apology. News will issue the following statement in it. So, I mean, that's crazy, bro. Man, it's a lot. That's why people say, you know, if somebody do you wrong, just sue. That's how people be getting their millions. Like, think about how long it would take a regular person to make like 15 million. He just like did it like that. Like, sue if you feel like somebody, and then the other dude won 5 million, the Navy veteran or whatever. Like, just sue.
$4 trillion. $4 trillion is coming in. Car companies, very importantly, a lot of the car companies that we're going to build in Mexico or Canada are now building here. Because I don't want cars from Canada. I don't want cars from Mexico. They want to do it, it's fine, but I want the car companies to build here, not, you know, they were building in Mexico 3 plants, big plants, really big plants, and they were going to sell the cars right across the border. We wouldn't have the jobs, we wouldn't have the profits, we wouldn't get the taxes, we get nothing. All we get is unemployment and empty factories. Those days are over. So now those 3 places are going to build here, but many more than that. We have a big one. Honda is building, just announced a really big plant in Indiana, great state, smart place to build.
All we get is unemployment and empty factories. Wow.
And we have many car companies coming here. The steel mills are going to be booming, and many other things. You know, many other things come with that. But we need that for defense. You know, there are certain things you have to have. You have to have steel. We would have had, if I didn't do in my first term tariffs to stop the onslaught, because they were dumping steel in order to destroy our steel plants. If I didn't do 50% and even 100% in certain cases tariffs on steel, you wouldn't have a steel plant in the United States. And Biden was unable to get rid of those tariffs because they threw off so much money that his numbers, which didn't work anyway, because his numbers were terrible. What he did, the way he spent money was so horrible. And what he allowed to happen to energy. That's the other thing. Energy is going to be like it's never been before. Mr. Vice President is here. Do you have anything to say while you're here? He's a very good Vice President.
I'm just here to watch the show, sir. Okay. I think airplanes are pretty cool, so I wanted to check this out.
It is cool.
Mr. President, to take off the trade war at this point.
Yo, Christian, man, when it said the factory will start in 2028, same time you get your check from Doge.
Well, I'll be speaking to President Xi. I have a great relationship with him. We're going to have a very good relationship. But we have a $1 trillion deficit because of Biden with President Xi. More than that. I mean, I've heard $1.2 trillion. We have a deficit. And I've explained that to President Xi. We also have a problem where he's allowing fentanyl to be sent into Mexico and then cross the border and, you know, killing. I think the number is much higher than the 125, 115. I think it's closer to 300,000 people a year. And so that's a problem. But they have a tremendous surplus against the United States, so we don't want that.
Ministries have come to you asking for exemptions on tariffs. Is that something that is under consideration by you?
Well, people are coming to me and talking about tariffs, and a lot of people are asking me if they could have exceptions. And once you do that for one, you have to do that for all. So, I mean, generally...
That was a good question she asked, like exceptions for tariffs.
I did something interestingly during 2 weeks ago. I gave the American car companies a break because it would have been unfair if I didn't. And everybody said, oh, he changed his mind on tariffs. I didn't change my mind. I helped our, sort of big three, big four. I helped some of the American companies. And instead of taking it properly, they said, oh, he changed it. I don't change. But the word flexibility is an important word. Sometimes there's flexibility. So there'll be flexibility. But basically, it's reciprocal. So that if China's charging us 50% or 30% or 20%, and I don't mean China, I mean anybody, any country, Canada. Nobody knows that Canada's charging our dairy farmers. They have 270% tariffs. Nobody knows that. Nobody knows that. They have up to 400%. They have a couple of tariffs at 400%. Nobody knows that. Nobody talks about that. And remember, with Canada, we don't need their cars. We don't need their lumber. We don't need their energy. We don't need anything from Canada. And yet it costs us $200 billion a year in subsidy to keep Canada afloat. So when I say they should be a state, I mean that. I really mean that. Because we can't be expected to carry a country that is right next to us on our border. It would be a great state. It would be a cherished state. The taxes for Canadian citizens would go down in less than half. They don't spend money on military because they think we're going to protect them. There are many things that they do, like icebreakers. They want us to provide icebreakers for them. Oh, that's wonderful. So the Canada, they're very tough traders too. I want to just tell you, all the people, they're tough traders. They trade very tough. And, the expression I use is, some people don't have the cards. I used that expression about a week and a half ago, right? Somebody was negotiating who didn't have the cards, who's now, I think, saying that he wants to do it, and I think we're going to have a big deal on that very special something. We got to make a deal on that. But Canada has been a very nasty negotiator against the United States, took advantage of the United States for a long time. But nobody knows that they were getting 270% tariffs on dairy products.
Mr. President, and I don't think I've heard you say this in all of the talk about Canada becoming the 51st state. You're concerned that if they became the 51st state, they would be a very, very blue state. Very, very big and very, very blue.
No, there might be, but it would, you have that artificial line that goes, that straight artificial, that looked like it was drawn by a ruler. Somebody with I don't mean a ruler like a king, I mean like a ruler, this way. And it's just an artificial line that was drawn in the sand or in the ice. And can I tell you, Peter, just, you add that to this country, what a beautiful landmass, the most beautiful landmass anywhere in the world. And it was just cut off for whatever reason. It would be great. Now, is it liberal? Maybe, but a conservative until I got involved, because I don't care who wins up there. I frankly probably would do better with a liberal than the conservative, if you want to know the truth. But just a little while ago, before I got involved and totally changed the election, which I don't care about, probably it's to our advantage actually. But the conservative was leading against, I call him Governor Trudeau. The conservative was leading by 35 points. So, so I don't know about that. I think Canada is a place like a lot of other places. If you have a good candidate, the candidate's going to win.
And the two astronauts that you just helped save from space, they didn't get any overtime pay for all that extra time. They got $5 a day per diem. For 286 days, that is $1,430 in extra pay. Is there anything the administration can do to get them, to make them whole?
Yo, they didn't get no overtime pay, and they was stuck in space for 9 months.
Well, nobody's ever...
Come on, bro. Why you always trying to talk about us giving more money, bro? Like, who is this dude, bro?
Mention this to me. If I have to, I'll pay it out of my own pocket. Okay, I'll get it for him.
Mr. President,
I'll take care of that. I like that. I think that I'll pay it right out of my. Is that all? That's not a lot for what they had to go through. And I want to thank Elon Musk, by the way, because think if we don't have him. There's only so long, even though they're in the capsule up there, that the body starts to deteriorate after 9 or 10 months, and gets really bad after 14, 15 months with the bones and the blood and all the things that you've been reporting on very well. And if we don't have Elon, they could be up there a long time. Who else is going to get him?
Right.
And I just want to thank him. He's going through a lot, what they're doing to him. And these people are going to be caught, and they're going to be caught, and they're going to be prosecuted. And from what they tell me, I see this just by watching your programs and reading the news, but from what they tell me, they could get 20 years in jail, and they'll get it. I'll tell you, there's going to be no leniency, and there'll be no pardons. I can tell you that right
And you
now.
said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe you said this morning 20 years in jail, and then maybe they'll go to one of these prisons in El Salvador. Do you think with the way that the judges have been issuing injunctions, it would be easier or harder to send these Tesla domestic terrorists to a jail in El Salvador than these MS-13 or Tren de Aragua guys?
Well, I view these people as terrorists just like others. These are, when I looked at those showrooms burning and those cars, not one or two, like 7, 8, 10 burning, exploding all over the place. These are terrorists. You didn't have that on January 6th, I can tell you. You didn't have anything like that on January 6th, which is sort of amazing because on January 6th, the Democrats were talking. Nobody was killed other than a very beautiful young woman, Ashley Babbitt. Nobody was killed. And you look at what's going on now with these terrorists. These are terrorists, and that's an organized event. You know, take a look at their signs. Take a look. They're all made by the same sign company. A nice, expensive job. Now, these are the people that finance it are, in my opinion, in just as big a trouble as the people that are setting the match and setting the fires. So we'll see. It's under very serious investigation by the FBI and by the Justice Department. These people are terrorists. Okay. Yeah, go ahead behind you.
Mr. President, what do you say to American military families who are seeing Elon Musk at the Pentagon today, are hearing about Defense Department cuts, and their thoughts are immediately going to the safety of their loved ones who are currently deployed?
Well, we're making our country strong. And when they see a thing like that and they hear that story about Elon in China, what they should do is realize that the New York Times is a corrupt institution, because I think they're the ones. They knew that story wasn't true. Nobody believed that story. People that, when I first called, they laughed when they heard this story. Nobody believed it, that the Pentagon was giving him a briefing on what war with China would look like, and he has business. No, they made that up because it's a good story to make up. They're very dishonest people. Look, I have it with the Times, and you'll see more and more of it. To me, it's a very, very dishonest organization. But a story like that is made up. It's total fiction. And I just wanted to make sure. I called up Chief of Staff and I called up Pete, and I said, "Is there any truth to that?" Absolutely not. He's there for Doge, not there for China. And if you ever mention China, I think he'd walk out of the room. He wouldn't take it anyway. So it's just a made-up story. Nobody's taking better care of the military. One of the things that I know that Pete's doing is he's talking about a lot of the civilian staff, and we're going to get them other jobs. You know, we're going to have a lot of jobs in this country, but we don't want to have wasteful jobs. We want to have meaningful jobs. And those were wasteful jobs. Those are jobs that not only military, but jobs where people don't show up. You take a look at Department of Education. I've never seen so many buildings with the names on it. You go past one after another Department of Education, and they're empty. The people don't show up. You know why? Because they have other jobs, because they're playing golf, or they're playing something, they're doing something. And we have a lot of great people, but we have to move that back to the States. We're going to make our country strong, and we're going to get people much better jobs, because we have companies moving into our country, the likes of which we've never seen before. Nothing like this has happened. And it's automatic. They don't want to pay the tariffs. How do you avoid paying the tariffs? You build your plant in the United States, and it's a beautiful thing to see. I see it. So far, I would say $4 trillion. Nobody's ever heard of them. No country's ever heard of numbers like that. $4 trillion, and those are the best ones. The biggest, best chip maker in the world. I'm not a fan of the CHIP Act, where you give billions of dollars away to companies that don't need it, and it won't bring.
Shout out to Ann Allen in the subscriber comment set. Loving the chat. Well informed.
Them here. I'm giving nothing away. All they're doing is coming here, they're building because they want to avoid. Remember this on the tariffs, too, because that's going to be, Liberation Day, April 2nd. It's reciprocal. If they charge us, we charge them. So somebody say, well, how much are the tariffs? Very fair. If India, as an example, has been very bad to us on tariffs. They charge 100%, 200%, whatever they charge. Now, Europe just announced they're lowering the tariffs on cars. We charge, like a joke, 2.5%. That's what this country charges. Europe just announced that they're reducing their tariffs on cars to 2.5%. It's nice. But they also have non-monetary tariffs where they make it impossible for the cars to get in even without the dollars on them and the dollar cents. It's called a non-monetary tariff where they put on controls where no matter what happens, because they don't want cars, they don't want the American car in their market. And yet they send us millions of cars. They send us big agriculture. They don't want our agriculture. They don't want anything from us. European Union's very tough. But now it's fair. So whatever they do to us, we do to them.
Mr. President, as Russia continues to attack Ukraine, are you planning to impose any sort of
Well,
sanctions?
they're fighting against each other. Yeah, I think we're going to have we have a ceasefire on a lot of areas, and so far that's all held very well. And getting that ceasefire, they had a lot of guns pointing at each other. You had some soldiers, unfortunately, surrounded by other soldiers, and they are going to be, I believe, we're going to pretty soon have a full ceasefire, and then we're going to have a contract. And the contract's being negotiated, the contract in terms of dividing up the lands, et cetera, it's being negotiated as we speak.
What do you say to critics who say that your actions towards law firms amount to coercion?
Well, the law firms all want to make deals. You mean the law firms that we're going after, that went after me for 4 years, ruthlessly, violently, illegally? You mean, are those the law firms you're talking about? They're not babies. They're very sophisticated people. Those law firms did bad things. They went after me for years. Russia hoax. All a hoax. It was a hoax. It was Hunter Biden's laptop. It didn't come out of Russia, by the way. It was came out of his bedroom. It was all a hoax developed by Democrats. Hillary, I don't think Biden did, because I don't think Biden knows what the hell he's doing, frankly, based on everything I see. I've seen things since being here that are so sad. What he's done to this country, what he and they did to this country, those people that surrounded him, who, by the way, are radical left but smart. He's not smart. He was never smart. But these are radical left, smart people. They totally controlled him. He did whatever they told him to do, and it's a shame. It's so sad to see what happened, what they've done.
What's interesting? Trump is making it this form of reporting that these people are doing is antiquated now, because he's having such a open style of presidency to where anybody and everybody could just see what he's doing. This is no longer really necessary unless you got people asking questions. Other than that, this is not necessary. Before, they used to have to do this, right? And then report back, and then they write their articles and everything. But now, even the people that try to mislead people on their websites and stuff like that, now they can't even really do that, because you can just watch what he's doing in real time and how he's answering the questions in real time. So I think this is an ingenious way of handling the presidency. Because now everything's just out in the open. Just, if you want to know what he's doing, tune into him. That's it. You know what I mean? Nothing hidden. He just had a cabinet meeting. All right, you want to know what they talked about in the cabinet meeting? It's live. You see what I'm saying? So very, very interesting style of doing it. And I think one of the reasons he's doing this is because how the fake news has been handling him over the years. He's not giving them an opportunity. What's going on, Facey? He's not giving them an opportunity to do anything negative. All right, y'all can say whatever y'all want, but the people can see me directly what's going on. I like this style.
To this country, both not only the inflation you saw, but
Biden could never. Let's keep it real. Biden could never. This dude's been talking for 44 minutes and 16 seconds, right? And I mean, not to mention all the other stuff he just did, within the week. just rattling off things. Like the history behind things, what he's doing, answer. There is no sense of mental decline with watching him. Whereas like after 10 minutes of watching Joe Biden, like you cringe. Like something is wrong with Joe Biden. You know what I mean? But I don't get no, and this dude's like, what is he, 78 years old? And you don't have any, well, one thing he said he never drank alcohol because his brother, I think, was an alcoholic and told him never to drink, so he never drank alcohol. I don't know if that's part of how he is, and I think he tested high on the ACT scores. But there's no, like, I've been watching him, like, waiting and seeing, like, I cannot see any cognitive decline with him.
Allowing millions and millions of criminals into our country, that's an inexcusable act. And many other things.
And even you can see how he handles the media, right? They'll ask him something, he'll answer the question. It may not be like how they want him to answer it, but he'll answer it how he feels like answering it, and he'll redirect them into what his goals were or what they are and what he's done, what people have done, and then he brings it all around full circle. Like that's and he's coming. Look at all these people staring at him. They got microphones, cameras, recorders, asking him questions. He knows this is like whatever he does is millions of views. Millions of people are about to watch everything that I do. Even people outside of the United States, the world is watching me. You know what I mean? China's watching me. Everybody's watching me. Every move I make. And he's comfortable.
That's it. Thank you very much, everybody. Thank you.
Shout out to Donald Trump. You know what I'm saying? I'm about to go and talk about some things in regular entertainment news, and then we're going to bring it back to politics probably in the morning or maybe even later on in the middle of the night. But shout out to everybody. I just do this because people need to see there's people that may not look like the people that are just sitting around in suits or whatever, you know what I mean? Like that may be Republican, maybe people that look like me. And I know people like me that look like me be scared to say that they're Republican. I'm not. You know what I mean? I will like read, like if a Democrat has something to say, or maybe there's a Democratic article, I'll read that. You know what I mean? And I'll give you my opinion on it, like what I think about it. But shout out to everybody. We will be back talking about some more politics, probably a little bit later. But right now, I'm going to talk about something entertaining. But shout out to everybody. I'm out, y'all. Peace.